Hey everybody, my name is Sharon Quinn and I'm also known as the original runway diva, and you are watching Model Behavior. Class is officially in session. My guest lecturer today is Kendra Charisse Porter. Kendra is an award-winning stylist whose work has been featured by Marie Claire, Essence Magazine, Black Enterprise, and Plus Model Magazine. As the founder of Honor You, an image consulting agency that also specializes in plus sizes, her method of body-centric styling teaches women to embrace their shape, no matter their size, and love the skin they're in. Her motto is honor your shape, honor your style, honor you. Welcome to Model Behavior, Kendra Charisse Porter.
Thank you, Sharon.
Hey girl, I'm loving the chartreuse. Let me just tell you that right now. That's one of my favorite colors. Now, you know, we teach here, or at least that's my whole goal for having this show. So I always ask people, how did you get your start in what it is that you do?
So it's interesting. I actually came out of nonprofit and had lost my job, twice in 3 years coming out of nonprofit when I came back to New York, and said I wanted to take the time to really invest in myself. You spend so much time investing in other businesses that I said, let me invest in myself and see what I can do. And really it started with me understanding, kind of going into retail and wanted to open a retail store. And my mentor at the time said, well, why don't you consider image consulting? It's less of a startup cost. You don't have all of those overhead costs that you're going to deal with. And it was more about the personalized services that I wanted to offer in store. And so I said, okay, great, let me start to take a look at that. A lot of people know Stacey London from the show What Not to Wear. And my first foray really after starting the business was, who do I learn from except somebody like her. And so she actually had a workshop from a company that she owned called Style for Hire. Went to the workshop. It was a weekend-long intensive workshop, and what I didn't realize at the time is that she actually then selects people by hand and asks them to come to join her company.
Really?
Yeah, and so it was an amazing experience. I got selected as an apprentice, worked my way very quickly up from apprentice to stylist to then becoming the market manager for the New York area. Because I wasn't the person that was involved in fashion, didn't come from the fashion world. I am not the quote-unquote fashionista in that sense, right? But it was understanding what women, and particularly fuller-figured women, needed and how fits worked for them, and really kind of sort of blossoming into that role.
Okay. Now, you said you're not from a fashion background, and all, but what is it that moved you to even go into this segment of the business?
Really my own struggles. So I remember even in high school wanting to own my own jean boutique, and I wanted to have a jean boutique that was catered to your own personal body shape and understanding fits. So, I was the girl who was 5'10", athletic, had really thick thighs, a very small waist, and always wore men's jeans, right? So
you had me. So that was describing me until you said really small waist.
But it was understanding that, before low-rise jeans were low-rise jeans and everybody wanted hip huggers, I would go up a size and wear them slightly hung on my waist because that was the style that I was looking for. So it was really about understanding my body and the fits that worked for me, and understanding kind of sort of the self-esteem aspect that women go through. Lots of women, just as I got older, would ask me like, well, where do you shop? And I go, I don't shop anywhere different than you do. But it was about understanding fabrications, it was understanding about quality of the fabrics, about the pieces, how they're sewn and how they're put together, that we can both go to Macy's. I'm going to come out with a piece that's going to last me for the next 5-10 years because I was in the corporate world, versus someone who would pick up, something that was going to only last them maybe a year or two or a season or two.
And you learned all of that from now you went to school.
I did go to school.
And you have a bunch of, she really liked school. You have a bunch of degrees, right?
I do.
Talk about that.
So oddly enough, I've led a very interesting life. So I came out of event marketing, event management. I actually went initially for school for engineering. Went for computer engineering, was there for 3 years and said, you know what, I've been programming for almost half my life at this point, and said, you know what, I want to do something different. I loved working with people. I wanted to go into marketing for that. And I went to the University of Massachusetts Amherst. UMass has a program where you can actually build your own major. So in my junior year, I decided, you know what, we're going to leave engineering, built my own major around marketing, but did everything for sports and entertainment, for advertising, communications, consumer studies, and really built a program on events and promotions because I was also working in the music industry at the time. And so was doing that, parlayed that into working in the nonprofit field. So I actually then became a corporate relations director for the American Heart Association, running their marathon training programs. So we would travel all over the place. I was in Jamaica, I was in Hawaii, I was in Vancouver, doing sports and entertainment, but still doing marketing and events because it was promoting those particular programs. And kind of sort of parlayed it in the nonprofit field for a number of years, almost a decade. And then when the opportunity came for me to start my own business, I was still doing fashion as part of that. So I would do fashion shows. And said, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to kind of sort of branch out and move into this other field. Part of that also came with going back to school for public relations. So I went to NYU for public relations. I had gone to SUNY Purchase for nonprofit and board and fundraising development. And then, of course, coming into fashion, I believe in kind of sort of learning the foundations before I go into something.
Very smart.
So I went to school to FIT and went for image consulting.
Just how long did you spend getting all these degrees? Because this sounds like you was in school for half your life.
You know what? Oddly enough, I've been blessed. I come from a background where professional development, personal development, and education is very important to my family. My father got his PhD at 70.
Okay, come on now.
So, and he has multiple degrees. My mother, the same thing. So I definitely come from that background where education is important. Mm-hmm. I've also been at a place where I've been able to complete my degrees, most of my degrees, earlier than they need to. So the FIT program is actually a 2-year program. I did it in a year.
How did you do that?
Back-to-back classes. Like just buckling down and saying, okay, you know what, we're going to take 3 and 4 classes.
Okay, hold up. Hold up. Because I remember when I left SUNY Binghamton to get married, and I decided to come back down here, get a full-time job, and still try to finish my degree, going to school full-time. I cannot tell you
how hard that is.
How quickly I burned out from doing that. It was just too much.
I will say this. I had the opportunities to go when I went to school, other than FIT and some of the other programs, like my master's program, I did full-time. So I had actually gotten into my master's program. They were paying for me to come back and be a teaching assistant as well. So I had a stipend for school. My housing was paid for, that I had saved money for. So I was able to go back for my master's degree, no holds bar, full-time. When I came back out and did these other programs, I was able to kind of sort of balance it out based on my schedule. So that I was doing evening classes after work, kind of sort of going back and forth. And because I was also running my own business at the time for FIT, when I was doing that, I would be in Connecticut working or traveling, doing tours and shows. And then I'd come back to the city, do a class, and just knock it out.
Oh, okay, yeah, you are better than me. Because it took, I think, maybe 2 semesters of trying to do that. And I was like, yeah, no, I can't. It's too much. And I also learned that you have to want to go to school. I mean, you have to want to do it.
This is true.
The hardest thing in the world is to have to go back to school and you're not motivated to do it.
Right. And I think that's the biggest push for me is, especially for FIT, I'd initially, when I was looking at FIT, I was also looking at Stacey's program. So I was looking at Style for Hire and the workshops. And my initial understanding was, I was like, let me do Style for Hire first, because it was a weekend. It was intensive. And I said, I understand my body. I understand the plus size body. Let me just figure out how to speak to customers, how to speak to clients about what works and what doesn't. And for me, that was what I got from her, was understanding the right words to say and how you phrase things. Oddly enough, that workshop had everyone who was new to the industry, like myself, to people who had been in the industry for years. So the woman to the left of me was actually a professor at FIT. She had been in the industry as an image consultant for 20 years, and she talked me into going to FIT and taking the program for image consulting. And with that, it was a whole new experience, but I was able to then devote my time between working from my own business and doing that to be able to do that in a year.
Okay, you just made me think of a question that has little to do with what we're really talking about, but I want to ask, well, it does have something to do with it, because I'm going to assume that when you were going to school and getting all these degrees, it was considerably less expensive. And most of that, you could get like grants and stuff?
So my undergraduate degree was partially scholarship. So I was actually at UMass on scholarship, up through my first year of changing degrees, because I was actually there on scholarship for engineering. When I went back to school for my master's, that was fully paid for by the university. So they said, we would love to have you back on campus. We'll pay for that. Perfect.
Oh man.
If you ever are going to get your master's degree, one of my professors always told me, do not pay for it. Have your company pay for it. Have the school pay for it. You should not pay for your master's, is what he said to me. And I took that to heart.
Okay.
And then the other degrees were either things I could parlay from a professional development side of things, depending on the company that I was with, or then save and do the FIT program. The FIT program is a couple of $1,000s. You know, to me, if investing in my future was worth it.
Now, would you go to school now with the way school is set up, where you come out with massive debt when you go now? Because it wasn't like, I mean, when I was going to school, community college was free. City college was free.
It is. I definitely believe in education. I believe in what works for you. So I have a friend who, he came into UMass with me. He is not the university type. He would have been better off as an engineer going to a trade school and perfecting his craft in computer programming than he was going to a university and having to take additional courses that were like liberal arts classes, because you have to fulfill your basic requirements. He got lost in that shuffle. So, you know, to me.
And why do you have to take that stuff if you've already taken it?
Because some people don't know what they want to do. So you come into the university and you're like, oh, I want to do this. But then you get into that particular program and it's not what you think it is. And you don't have an idea of what you're supposed to do next, right? So then how do you figure out which program you're going to go into, or if you're going to change your major, or even if you haven't declared a major? It kind of sort of exposes you to all the different areas that you can then go into.
Okay. Well, while all this school talk is fascinating, let's talk about your company.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So Honor You is an image consulting agency that started off, oddly enough, as the premier styling company for plus-size women. It now has expanded, so I really do include women of all shapes and sizes. I had tons of people who said, well, I'm not plus-size, can you help me? And of course the answer is yes. For me, the passion about my company and what we do is really about helping women embrace who they are, embrace their body. It's great when you want to have goals, you want to lose weight, gain weight, tone, do all of these things, but you need to love the body and the skin that you're in.
And you got to dress the body you have right now.
Right.
I agree with that.
And so that's my biggest, that's kind of the passion that I have for what I do. The business has grown, so where it started off just initially working with one-on-one with clients, it's now more about also training. So I do workshops for retail associates and fashion businesses on how do you work with your clients, how do you teach them the basics of image consulting so that they can then fit their customers, right? They can fit their clients. They understand what it means to, dress for a particular body shape. And then that helps their bottom line. So it's a less of a return, when you look at the return rates for purchases, people buy stuff and they're like, oh, they have it in their closet for 6 months and they haven't worn it. Well, they haven't worn it because either it doesn't fit properly, it doesn't work for what they have. Or they don't like it. Or they don't like it. And I don't ever push people into things that they don't like. I may push you out the box a little bit so that you can experience different things and you can see yourself differently. But it is about getting them what they need and making sure that they enjoy it. Because if you don't love it,
you're not going to wear it. You're sure not.
Right.
Okay. Now, and I'm glad you brought that up because that was the next question in my head. What do you do, or how do you handle that client that comes in with their yoga pants that they wear every day, and they have issues with how they look? So I don't want to use the word difficult, but I used to be a personal shopper, and people can be difficult when they're stuck in their ways. So
a lot of it's twofold, right? I feel like if you're coming to me, you've already said, I need something new, I need something different, what I'm doing is not working. And so they're ready for a change. Now, there are some people who who come to me, like I had somebody I actually worked with somebody before I came here, who I was a gift for them. So somebody else had bought my services and said, I'd love for you to be able to do this for them. And I said, great, perfect. That client came in and they said, look, I'm not really ladylike. I work in landscaping. They came in Crocs, right? So they came to me in Crocs and pants that were too big. It's okay. I'm like, I get it. But how do I take for me, it takes me probably about maybe 5-10 minutes to assess a person just in talking to them about their lifestyle, about what they like, what they don't like. Many people come in and say, oh, I don't have a sense of style, or I don't do this, or I don't do that, or I don't like this. And to me, I have to get to the crux of why it is that they don't like particular things, because someone will say, I don't like, I can't wear the color green. Everybody can wear every color. It's the right shade of that color that works best for you.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So it's understanding really what the crux is of their opposition to fashion, and then saying, okay, no, you do have a style. You may like classic, basic lines, but that is a style. Like classic is a style, trendy is a style, modernistic is a style. So it's understanding those things and then being able to communicate that to them, and then showing them those pieces that then they're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Like, yes, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be quote unquote modern or trendy, but I do want to have some quality classic pieces that will last me, and that makes sense for my wardrobe.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so now tell me about your motto, which I really, really love, by the way.
So the motto...
And how you came up with it.
Thank you. So the motto initially, because I was focused on the plus community, it was initially honor your shape, honor your size, honor you. And as I grew and as the company grew, it was less about size. And as you know, in this industry, there isn't a standardization for women in sizes, right? So a size 2 in Anne Klein is very different than a size 2 in J. Crew than it is in a size 2 in Calvin Klein. So it really became understanding people's body shapes. And that's why I do say that I'm a style architect and a body expert, because I understand the basics of body shapes and different silhouettes that work for that body. So for me, it's about honoring your body, right? What your actual shape is, understanding the silhouettes, understanding your sense of personal style. Many people see stylists and they're like, oh, well, they're going to dress you the way that they think you should be dressed, or they're going to dress you in their sense of style. And I said,
no,
that's not what I do. I work based on who you are as an individual, what your lifestyle is like, and what your budget's like, and we make it work based on those things. And so really it is about honoring you as an individual across your body shape, across your own sense of personal style, and making it about you and how you want to communicate to the world.
Okay. Now I got a question for you. So if you could change, if you could change anything about the fashion industry and how it is currently set up, what would you do? What would those changes be? Because I know you got some ideas.
For me, it's interesting. I think there's a couple different things. I was actually looking at some clothes that I could recently fit into that I haven't fit into in a while. And I was looking at sizes, right? So as we talk about, there isn't a standardization in sizing. And it was a straight 20. Like, it wasn't a 20 women's, it was a 20, which they don't even make 18s anymore, let alone just a regular 20 in misses. And it's knowing that there isn't a so for me, standardization in women's sizing would be phenomenal. That's never going to happen, because that means every single designer has to conform to this standardization.
But wouldn't you sell more clothes like that?
You would think, but then of course people say, well, there's vanity sizing, and so they'd rather be a size 16.
See, now I'm about to curse.
I thought we said we weren't going to do that
No,
this show.
I'm not, but I was about to. What is vanity sizing?
So that comes, to me, vanity sizing is, if you know that you're a 14 across the board for most designers, and all of a sudden you're a 12 or a 10 in something else, right? That's their vanity size, because they ideally feel like...
So they're going to just reach for the 12 because that's the size they would prefer to be,
right,
rather than the size that they are.
But again, that goes back to women, and I can't even say women because it happens to men as well, but a self-esteem issue, and that's the other piece of what I do, is really helping people understand this is not about, forget about size across the board, it's about fit. I don't care what, I'm like, I fit into a Mrs. Extra Large one day, and I said, there's no way I'm a Mrs. by any means. But based on the particular cut of this particular designer, that's what I was able to get into.
Okay, so that brings up another question for me, another group of questions for me. So who is doing the fit modeling for this? Who are they trying this stuff on that the fit is off like this?
Right, and if you don't understand, there's what's called fit models, and fit models are really people who put on or who are styled by the designers for the clothes that you're wearing, right, on a mass production scale. But a fit model, people will say to me, oh, I've always loved this particular brand, and it always fit me until this past year, and I don't understand what happened. I haven't changed. I haven't gained weight.
They've changed the model.
They've changed the model. a new designer's come in, right? All of these things happen, and then what has always been the standard for a particular cut now changes. And it's really getting people to understand that, again, not about sizes, about fit, and understanding different brands cut differently. Because if you look at a pair of Ralph Lauren pants versus a Calvin Klein pant versus a Michael Kors pant,
Three different cuts
right.
and fit.
And the rise is different. People, everyone's like, everything's low-waisted or too high-waisted, or going back to your body shape, understanding what your body shape is. Do you need a low rise? Do you need a higher rise in a pant? Do you need a lower rise in a pant? What's a mid-waist pant for you? All of those things matter. And, people ask me about being a stylist, and they're like, oh, I'd love to be able to be a stylist. And I was like, okay, understand what that really means. Because it's not, being a stylist, to me, being a stylist and being an image consultant are two totally different things. As an image consultant, I work with you as an individual, understanding your body, understanding your shape. Mm-hmm. Being a stylist is about the editorial aspects of fashion. So it is, I can put anything on you to make the outfits look fabulous, not about making you look fabulous. As an image consultant, I'm here for you. And it's trying to have people understand.
Wait a minute, you said it's about making the clothing look good.
As a stylist.
As a stylist.
Correct.
And not the model?
Correct.
Why? I mean, I guess I know why, but I don't get it. I don't get it. Because you can put a bunch of stuff on people, but if it doesn't look good, if it doesn't all come together, including the model, that's.
But think about it, right? So if you're on the flip side of being a model, and when you used to put things on, we would tape, pin, tuck,
true,
all of those pieces, so that it would look good on you.
Right.
But in real life, that's not how that piece is actually going to look on you.
That's the same thing when they pin it to the mannequin to give it shape, and it's like, yeah,
that's not
doesn't
what that
look like that on me. Okay, I get it.
And so that's really, from a stylist perspective, and that's great. I mean, don't get me wrong. That is, if you love the editorial, if you love the aspirational side of dressing and being creative in that sense, then that's one aspect of it. But if you're trying to talk to an individual and getting something that's personalized for them, that's really the image consulting piece of it. It really is understanding everything from fit to fabrication to the nuances of fit and what that really means. So in terms of colors, in terms of quality of fabrics, in terms of how things are sewn, in terms of the small little details that, darting, seaming, all of those things, alterations, really have an impact on how things are going to fit.
And I'm just finding out now that alterations can be your fairy godmother of sorts.
Oh, absolutely.
See, it never occurred to me because I see things and I say, oh, this is a 26, 28, but I really like it. It never occurred to me to just buy it and have it altered to my size. I bet you I'm going to be doing that now, though. Because I see, and I run into so many people who tell me that that's what they do. And I was like, why didn't I think of this?
Women, and I don't know what it is. It's interesting, and I because I also am the fashion advisor for Lord & Taylor, so I do have male clients as well that I work with, and men come in, they're trying on a suit, we call the tailor, always. There's no man that I know that's buying a suit off the rack. I don't care
good point.
Really what you're doing and what size you are. Women will go into the store, buy a suit off the rack and say, well, no, this doesn't fit, or maybe I like this, but it's too big. Let's call a tailor. Well, no, it should fit. No, it shouldn't.
That just makes, now does that come with the store, with the personal styling piece, or because back in the day when I worked for New York Magazine, one Christmas they gifted us with $1,000 to spend at Giorgio Armani.
Gotcha.
Now ain't nothing in Giorgio Armani in there for me, but maybe some belts and some cologne.
Right.
I can't wear nothing else. But I got a men's suit. And they had a tailor on site who tailored it to my body. I still wear that suit to this day. But is that the norm?
So, every department store from that perspective is different. For the most part, you will find having a tailor on site, whether and what you pay for is going to be different. So everybody's pricing is going to be different. For Lord & Taylor, we do provide alterations to our customers. You are going to pay for some things and you aren't going to pay for others. And we do have sales on how that also works out. Nordstrom Rack, oddly enough, so there's Nordstrom and then there's Nordstrom Rack. Nordstrom Rack also has a tailor, as well as Nordstrom's, but most people don't realize that Nordstrom Rack has alterations on site. They do. Do
they post that anywhere, or is that just something you just got to ask?
It wasn't until because I did an event there, and I was talking to the general manager, and she's like, oh, no, we have alterations. And I said, know if anybody knows that, because you think of it as a TJ Maxx, as a Marshalls, along that line, and you don't think about having an alterations person on site. So it's marketing has a lot to do with that as well.
I did not know that. So I guess it would pay to ask.
It definitely pays to ask. You know, any of your major department stores will always have, will for the most part have somebody on site as well.
All right. Well, Kendra, we're not out of time, but we're close. So I don't want to run out of time before you give everybody your information. You got a website, yes, all the social media channels, all of that stuff.
Absolutely. So you can find me at Honor Your Style on all social media. And then my website is kendraporter.com. And, you know, everybody's definitely feel free to follow me. I'm on everything from Snapchat to Instagram to Facebook.
I do not do Snapchat.
I am new to Snapchat, I will say that. So it is definitely a learning curve for me.
Okay, and I don't like the fact that your stuff is not up there. I mean, once you put it up, it's only there for a limited time, and then you.
Well, they're changing that now so that you can repost some of that and you can save some of those stories. I'm like I said, I'm still learning, but it is an option for people who are trying to tell their stories. It's kind of more of a behind the scenes, follow me in the day in the life type of platform is what I feel like.
Okay. Okay. You got some parting words for our viewers?
I do. If you are looking to get into image consulting, if you are looking to become a personal stylist, I would say do your education, do your research. It is important because there's so much that you can do, whether you're looking at wardrobing for, you know, Broadway shows, to working on movies, to working in commercials, to working in editorials. There's so many different aspects of image consulting and or fashion styling, and so many different opportunities. Feel free to reach out to me. I am more than happy to, you know, lend an ear and point you in the right direction if I can. Again, it's kendraporter.com and at Honor Your Style. Honor your shape, honor your style, honor you.
Okay, everybody, we are just about out of time. I would like to thank my guest, Kendra Sharice Porter, for sharing her industry knowledge with us today. Now, as always, before I go, I'd like to leave you with a few thoughts. I want you to, one, remember that you can't change the game until you first learn the game. Always surround yourself with positive people and positive things. Do what you love and love what you do. And lastly, be who you are, but be who you are tastefully. Always have some class about yourself. Now, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Thanks for watching Model Behavior, and I'll see you guys next week. Class is officially dismissed. Bye, y'all. Out here.